So today we're taking a look at the best farming setups in Palworld, and in this video I'll go through two separate farming setups, where we have one that is centered around the gold assembly line. So this one is kind of like the cheesing method, where you can have almost everything in one base and make it super simple. It is arguably one of the most efficient bases you can have in Palworld. And then number two, we will have more like actively farming. We will have pals that are doing both plantations, watering, gathering, and also having ranches as well. So hopefully one of these two bases will be suitable for how you want to play Palworld. Either way, let's get right into it. So base number one is once again going to be for the coin assembly lines, where you want to have pal merchants in the same base. So as you can see up here, we have a bunch of merchants that we have captured and placed inside these flea markets. Now what I'm doing here is basically farming gold coins, and then I'm buying everything that I need from these merchants. So this guy, for example, sells tomato, lettuce, leather, bone, horn, ice organ, high quality pal oil, tomato seeds and lettuce seeds, and just about everything. And what he doesn't sell, this guy has a high likelihood of selling as well. So like, I have caught pretty much every single vendor at this point, and they all sell different things. Like this guy, for example, sells both egg, milk, red berries, wheat, chickpea poultry, lamb ball mutton, wool, leather, bone, flame organ, venom gland, electric organ, and horn. Now for the end game of Palworld here, we have a couple of items that are really relevant. So electric organ, first of all, this one you will be using a lot of for the end game. And then we have egg, milk, berries, and wheat when it comes to making cake. So these items as well, instead of farming for these, instead of having any mozzarinas at the ranch, or instead of having like chickpeas at the ranch, or even red berry farms, or wheat farms, I am simply once again making gold and spending that gold to buy these items. So how have I set up this base? Well, we have a bunch of assembly lines at this place. Like the location doesn't matter, but I'll show you anyway. It's right here. This is like the main place I like to have my base. I just like what it looks like here. Like it's a beach, and it's a perfect beach. So here we have one gold assembly line, two assembly lines, three assembly lines. I have 8 assembly lines in total, and you don't have to have 8. You can start with 1, you can start with 2. Basically, the more pals you have, the more assembly lines you can have as well. And what you do here is basically make 1,000,000 gold coins. As you can see here, we're going to start making here, and that's 1,000,000 gold coins. And when the pals start working, I kind of want to show you guys how fast this goes, because when they actually start working here, and if we get the right pals working as well, like one of the Splatterinas for example, they start crafting things very fast. At the moment we have a bunch of shroomers that are also doing work here. So for example, over here, like, we have a couple of Splatterinas coming in, or even Selines coming in to work here, and they are going to produce these coins super fast. You can see even these guys that aren't really the best handy workers, even here, the coins are being produced super fast. And same thing over here, we have 2 Selines and a Shroomer working, and they're producing coins at record speed. Now, as you can see, whenever I'm trying to craft these coins, you can see that we are basically turning ingots into coins. So when it comes to this exact base, there are 3 things you want to have. You want to have pals that are mining for ores, you want to have pals that are turning those ores into ingots, and you want to have pals with handiwork to actually make those ingots into coins. So it's a 3-step base, and you only really want to have 3 separate types of pals. So we're focusing on mining pals, kindling pals, and handiwork pals. So let's see what I have in my base. For example, we have a bunch of Astegons that are working in the base. We have a couple of ore circs just to keep electricity going. We have some Shroomer Nocts because they have a passive effect that reduces the sand in the base itself, and then we have some Selines that are doing handiwork. So basically just stacking those up, we have 6 Shroomers. I don't think you need to have 6, but I mean, I think you can have up to 6, and they will all stack. Now I usually start with 2 and then just build from there, but they do stack. So once again, the more you have, the better off you are, and the harder your pals can work. So at the moment I have set my pals in this work to work at hard efficiency. Like the extreme work basically is what they're doing right now. And once again, we have Astegons working at the mines producing ores, and then we have a couple of like transporting pals transporting those ores into the chest that I've placed right next to these like mining veins. So over here as well, we have this one that is basically full at the moment of ores, like so many ores in this one chest. And then what we're doing is we are using these, the Jormuntides, or Jormuntide Ignis I should say, and we're turning those into ingots. And what I've done here is make 3 of these, so I can can make more than just a couple at a time. So here we have 5,000 ingots being made. Here as well I'm gonna have another 5,000 being made, and over here another 5,000 being made. Now the more kindling pals you want to have, and the more you want to like make more ingots at the same time, the more of these furnaces you can make as well. But the thing is, this is like a multi-furnace, so we have more pals, we have 4 working at the same time, and they are making ingots really fast. So I feel like having 3 of these is more than fine. Even with the amount of kindling pals I have, only 2 of them are being used at the same time. As you can see, once again, it's being crafted super fast here. So once again, everything you want to have in this base is basically number 1 a mining pal, number 2 a kindling pal, and number 3 a handiwork pal, and then just start scaling that based on how much you want to have. So you can for example have 10 mining pals, 10 kindling pals, and 10 handiwork pals, and then have a couple of shroomers as well. And that's basically it. Like this base, you can get 90% of everything you need simply by making gold coins and using those gold coins to buy the materials you want to have. And that is base number 1. Base number 2, things will get more complicated, but I think it fits more people, as more people want to like farm things by themselves instead of just farming gold coins. So let's get into it. Now, example 2 is going to be more of a manual farming base, or basically gathering all of the materials by yourself, instead of having any gold coin assembly lines. So literally, once again, just farming everything by yourself, or I mean, I guess getting the pals to do it for you, but you get the point. So over here, we're going to have an example of a ranch plus plantation farming base, where you're basically farming for the materials used in cake, and also making different types of food in Palworld. So over here, you will have 2 of every single plantation. That is going to be number 1, because you want to have a little bit of everything. You might want to have more of the wheat farm, because wheat is used in making cake, so have 2 of every single one, but maybe you want to have more of both wheat and berries when it comes to making cake and even pancake and making certain food. So just get as many plantations as you can bother having in your base, and you're gonna have like 4 pals working there, so keep that in mind as well. You don't want to have 100 plantations, so let's just say 2 of every single one, but maybe 4 of wheat and 4 of berries. That's what you want to have for plantations, and you want to stack them on top of each other. So as you can see here in my base, this is an old base of mine. This is taking up a lot of space. Now, I'm going to show you some footage here, because plantations can be stacked, and it can be stacked very simply as well. And by doing so, you can save yourself a lot of space simply by stacking plantations. So instead of, for example, having 4 plantations next to each other, you can stack them on top of each other, and that way they will take the same space as one singular plantation, literally saving you insane space. So keep in mind, stack plantations. Next up, you want to have as many ranches as you can bother having. Also, stack those on top of each other as well, because as you can see here, we have 3 ranches super close, and they are taking up quite a lot of space. Now, in this case, you can literally stack ranches, and you can stack up to 5 or 6 or 7 of them in the same height. So instead of having 7 ranches side by side, stack them on top of each other, and that way 7 ranches will take up the same space as one singular ranch, literally just saving you space inside your base. Now keep in mind here that 1 ranch equals 4 pals, so how many ranches you should have depends a little bit on your personal settings, because if you have 5 ranches for example, that is 20 pals producing items, and how many ranches you should have depends on the world settings you are running, as you can have up to 50 pals per base with regular in-game settings, and then you can mod that to be even higher as well. So just by enabling in the world settings of your world, you can have 50 pals per base. But many people still have 20 pals in their base, because that is like I think it's the standard setting to have 20 or 25. So once again, how many ranches you should have depends on the settings you are running, because if you have 20 pals per base, you likely want 1, maybe 2 ranches. That being said, if you have 50 pals per base, you can comfortably have 5 or more ranches. And I'm going to give you an example here of the pals that I have in my base based on having 5 ranches. In addition to that, you want to build beta wave generators and alpha wave generators. So going into building here, I think that's in the other part or in the infrastructure part. So over here we have the Alpha Wave Generator, a device that generates alpha waves to relax the pals. It slows the rate at which the sand values of the allies at the base decreases, and you can have up to 2 of these, but not more. And like as you can see here, placing more than 2 will not have any additional effect, but you want to have 2 of them. That will just reduce the sand values of the base and allow your pals to work even harder. Then you have a Beta Wave Generator. This one you can only have 1 of, and it will increase the work speed of the pals in the base as well. So you want to have 2 Alpha Wave Generators and 1 Beta Wave Generator. In addition to that, you want to craft, like for example, a hot spring, large pallet beds, regular pallet beds, food boxes, medicine racks, you name it, like the regular base things. I'm not going to go through that in this video, but like I just did it basically really fast. But just the regular base things, you want to have those as well. Like high quality hot spring is very good to have to restore the sand values of your palace as well. I usually have even more than just 1 of these. I usually have 2 or 3 of them. Either way, you want to have that. In addition to that, you also want to make the things that will increase the speed of your palace. So for example, if you have any handiwork palace at your base, have a large toolbox, and in this case we're going to have gathering, right? So make sure to have a flower bed, because that will increase the gathering speed. Have a water fountain to increase the watering speed. Did I say a gathering speed here for flower bed, and water fountain for watering speed? These 2 are really good to have. And then silo improves planting speed as well, so like these 3 are really good to have. So this base can be a little bit complicated, but let me start talking about which pals you should have in this base to give you an exact rundown and give you some exact examples of pals you should consider having for this base for yourself. So first of all, you want to have 4 Lylines for planting, because they have rank 4 planting. Rank 5 when fully condensed, it's the best planting pal basically. Then you have 4 Phaleris Aqua for watering, and Phaleris Aqua is first of all way smaller than Dormantide, so it gets stuck way less. It also has level 4 transporting, so it can transport things around for you, as well as watering. If you only wanted to be watering and not transporting, you can simply go to the monitoring stand and uncheck the transporting thing, and just make your Phaleris do watering. So keep that in mind as well. Apart from that, I usually have 2 Frostallion Noct for gathering, because Frostallion Noct is the best gatherer in the game, and when you have Frostallion Noct, it will only do gathering. I also have 1 regular Frostallion for cooling for the food box, because you want to have a cooling food box and have a cooling pal on that, just to keep your food cold as long as you can and make sure they don't spoil. Then you want to have 6 chickadees to make eggs in the ranch. You want to have 7 musarinas for milk and 7 bee guard for honey. That is a total of 20 pals for the ranch, so I'm basing this also off of having 5 ranches. If you have more ranches, then have more pals. If you have less, then simply have less pals. But if you have 5 ranches, so you can have 20 pals at the ranch. Once again, 6 chickadee, 7 musarina, and 7 bee guard. Apart from that, you also want to have 3 Prunelia for buffing the crop rate, 3 Lulu for buffing growth, and 3 Shroomer Noct for buffing the sand values. Now, here's the thing. You also want to have 4 Noctlems for transporting, and they will also help on gathering. Now, that should be a total of 44 pals. If you have 50 pals in total for your base based on the world settings, that leaves you with 6 more pals you can have. And like I just said, we have 3 Shroomer Noct here, but you can have up to 6. So use some of that leftover space to like either have more Shroomer Noct, more Prunelia, or more Lulu, because they just generally buff your base. As for stats, I usually recommend having Remarkable Craftsmanship, Artisan, Serious, and also Work Slave. That being said, this depends on your playstyle. If you actively play during nighttime, you swap out Serious for Vampiric or Nocturnal, so your pals work during the night. And for pals at the ranch, I would recommend having Vampiric or Nocturnal even if you're not a nighttime player, as they benefit a lot less from work speed buffs, so you want to min-max their uptime instead. And lastly, for transporting pals, they are also not affected by work speed like regular work pals, so you might want to focus more on pal movement speed for your transporting pals. Either way, that's basically 2 different bases you can set up in Palworld and get a lot of like things out of those bases, basically materials for the end game. So hopefully you enjoyed the video, hopefully it was informative, helpful, and yeah, hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, take the time to leave a like down below, it really helps out, and let me know what your base looks like in the comments. As always, thank you for watching, I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you again in the next video very soon.